Hey everyone, ready for today's deep dive? We're tackling something that can be super useful, especially if you're still getting comfortable with English.
Yeah, going to the doctor can be stressful enough without having to worry about language barriers, right?
Exactly. But we're here to make those visits way less intimidating.
We're going to decode all those essential phrases you need to know to feel confident at the doctor's office.
It's like we're giving you the secret code to clear communication, even if you're just starting out with English.
I love that analogy, the secret code.
So for this deep dive, we've got this awesome guide all about navigating doctor visits.
And it's designed specifically for beginners, so we're talking simple, clear language anyone can use.
We'll break down each step of a typical visit and give you those must-know phrases for every scenario.
From booking the appointment to explaining your symptoms and understanding the doctor's instructions, we've got you covered.
Let's start with that very first hurdle, making the appointment.
Oh yeah, the dreaded phone call.
I don't know about you, but talking on the phone in a new language always makes me a little nervous.
Me too. But the good news is, you don't need to be fluent to book an appointment.
Our guide actually shows how you can do it with just a couple of key phrases.
It's true. The first one is, I'd like to book an appointment.
Nice and simple.
Super straightforward. Then they'll probably ask, what is the reason for your visit?
Okay, but what if I don't know the fancy medical terms for my symptoms?
No worries. You can keep it super basic. Just say something like, I have a headache, or I have a stomach ache.
So simple, right?
Exactly. And here's a pro tip. Practice those phrases a few times before you call. It'll help you feel more confident and less flustered when you're on the phone.
That's a great idea. Speaking of feeling confident, our guide also has this awesome tip about saying your name.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Especially if you have a name that might be unfamiliar in English.
Totally. Practice saying it slowly and clearly. It'll make the whole check-in process a lot smoother.
Absolutely. So you've aced the phone call, you've arrived at the clinic, now what?
Well, now comes the check-in process. Remember those key words we talked about, ID and insurance card?
Yep. Have those ready to go. And don't be intimidated by the forms they might ask you to fill out.
Those forms can be a bit overwhelming.
They can, but the good news is they usually ask for pretty basic information. Your insurance details, emergency contacts, that kind of thing.
And it can actually be super helpful to have that information written down in English beforehand.
Oh, that's a smart move. That way you can just copy it onto the form. No need to try and remember everything on the spot.
Okay, but what if I get stuck on a word, I don't know, like let's say I don't remember the word for emergency contact.
Don't panic. You can simply point to the section on the form and ask, can you help me with this, please?
Easy as that.
Exactly. Most people are happy to help. And it's a great way to learn new vocabulary in a real-life situation.
So you've checked in, maybe learned a new word or two. You're sitting in the waiting room, heart pounding.
And then it's your turn to see the doctor.
This is where those simple phrases we talked about really come in handy.
Big time. The guide gives us really helpful sample dialogue that shows how these phrases work in action.
So let's say the doctor asks, what seems to be the problem? What's our go-to phrase?
You got it, I have, followed by your symptom. So you could say, I have a sore throat, or I have a cough, whatever's bothering you.
And here's where it gets even more interesting. Knowing a few basic body parts in English can be a game changer.
Oh, tell me about it.
Imagine you're trying to explain a pain in your shoulder, but you can't remember the word for shoulder.
Been there.
You could just point to your shoulder and say, pain here. Simple visual and super effective.
Exactly. It's all about finding those little strategies that make communication easier, especially when you're dealing with pain or discomfort.
And speaking of making things easier, our guide also highlights the importance of those yes and no questions.
Oh yeah, those are crucial.
The doctor might ask, do you have a fever?
Yeah.
Or are you allergic to any medications? Being able to give a clear yes or no is super important for accurate diagnosis and treatment.
Absolutely. It helps avoid any misunderstandings and ensures you get the right care.
Okay, so we've tackled the phone call to check in and even explained our symptoms to the doctor. What happens next in our doctor visit adventure?
Well, now it's time for the doctor to kind of figure things out. Yeah.
Right? You might examine, you ask a few more questions.
Exactly. And then comes the important part, the instructions.
Like what to do next, how to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, the treatment plan, medication, maybe some lifestyle changes too.
This is where active listening becomes super important.
Oh, absolutely. You're not just hearing the words.
You're really trying to understand what the doctor's saying.
Right, like what kind of medicate, how often to take it, any side effects.
It's like you're a detective gathering all the clues.
Exactly. And you know what can help with that? Taking notes.
Oh yeah, the guide mentions that too, if it's okay with your doctor.
It can make a big difference, you know?
jotting down those key points so you don't forget anything important.
Makes sense. But, what if my handwriting's terrible? Like, I can't even read it myself later.
I feel you. But even if your notes are messy, just the act of writing can help you remember.
Oh, that's true.
And if you're really worried about it,
Yeah.
you could always ask the doctor or a nurse to write it down for you.
Smart. So we're listening, we're taking notes, but what if we don't understand something?
Like if the doctor uses a medical term we've never heard before.
That's when those clarifying questions come in super handy.
The guide has some great examples.
My...
Can you repeat that, please? Or can you explain that in a simpler way?
Oh, those are good ones. Don't be shy about asking.
I used to think it made me look clueless,
Really?
but now I realize it shows I'm engaged, you know?
It shows you care about your health.
Exactly. And it helps avoid misunderstandings.
Absolutely. And you know, the guide even suggests a cool technique for making sure you're on the same page.
Oh, tell me more.
You can say something like, so if I understand correctly, and then summarize what you've heard.
That's brilliant. It gives you a chance to double check.
Right. And it shows the doctor you've been paying attention.
So we've covered a lot, from making that first phone call to actively listening during the appointment.
We've given people a lot to think about.
Definitely. So for those listening who are still learning English, what are some of the key takeaways here?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that communication is a two-way street.
I like that.
It's not just about understanding the doctor.
Right.
It's also about making sure you can express your own needs and concerns.
And that's where those simple phrases come in.
Exactly. They give you the tools to participate in your healthcare.
Even if you're not fluent yet.
Right. And remember, it's okay to ask for help.
Oh, absolutely. Doctors and nurses are there to support you.
They want to make sure you understand everything.
So don't be afraid to speak up. Clarify. Ask questions. Your health is worth it.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's like we've given everyone this toolkit, right?
Yeah.
Full of phrases and strategies.
Exactly. And the more you use them, the more confident you'll feel.
Practice makes perfect, as they say.
It really does. Even if you don't have a doctor's appointment coming up, you can still practice at home.
Oh, that's a great idea. Like role-playing different scenarios.
Exactly. Maybe with a friend or family member.
You could pretend to be the doctor asking those common questions.
And your friend can practice their responses. It's a fun way to learn.
Makes it less intimidating, too. And the guide actually suggests... Think about the situations where you're most likely to need English at the doctor's office.
That's smart.
So if you know you often get headaches, for example,
Right.
make sure you know how to say headache and how to describe the pain clearly.
It's about tailoring your learning to your own needs.
Exactly. You don't need to memorize a whole medical dictionary.
Just focus on what's relevant to you. And speaking of resources, don't forget about technology. There are so many amazing apps and websites for learning English.
Oh, I love those language learning apps.
Me too. Some of them even have features for practicing your speaking.
And getting feedback on your pronunciation. Super helpful.
They really are. And you know, there are even apps that can translate phrases in real time.
Oh yeah, those can be lifesavers in a pinch.
Oh,
But remember,
yeah.
technology is a tool to help you learn, not a crutch to rely on completely.
Exactly. The goal is to eventually feel comfortable communicating on your own.
So to wrap up our deep dive today, I think we've shown that going to the doctor in a new language doesn't have to be scary.
Not at all.
By focusing on simple English, mastering those key phrases, and using the strategies we've discussed, you can navigate those interactions with confidence.
And remember, every step you take in your language learning journey is a step toward greater independence.
It's about empowering yourself to advocate for your own health.
Well said. So here's a final thought for everyone listening.
Okay, I'm listening.
I think about one area of medical vocabulary you want to improve. Maybe it's allergies or medications, something relevant to you.
Good idea.
And start practicing. Even just a few minutes a day can make a big difference.
And never be afraid to ask for help.
Exactly. Whether it's a teacher, a friend, or even your doctor.
There are people who want to support you on this journey.
Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep taking those steps towards greater confidence.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep diving deep.